So let's add the text field for the footer columns now. So remember when we were writing the footer, we mentioned that this will be a text field and the user will be able to choose the columns layout using this field. So let's add a text field, and we already know how to do that, so let's do it quickly. So let's copy one of these and add settings, and let's call it footer layout. And the default, let's make it the 3333, and it will be post message, and we need to refresh the footer layout when this setting is changed, so we can add this setting to the array of settings in the footer partial. Sanitize callback, we can just use the WordPress sanitize text field. And let's add a control for this setting. So it will be a text area, so let's copy this and edit it. Same ID as the setting, and type text and label. Let's call it footer layout. And the section, it will be the footer section. So let's check now. And we now have this text field where we can edit the layout. So let's go ahead now and use this field in the 3 files that we hard-coded the field in. So we have this one. So get theme mod, and the name, which is, we called it footer layout. Let's copy it. And the second argument is the default value, and this should match the default value in the customize. And this is the value from the database, so let's sanitize it. Oh, actually, we have a typo here. Let's do one more thing. So I'm now getting this value from the user. So what if the user typed a space here or something? We need to remove all spaces before using the variable. So footer layout equals peg replace, and it takes a regular expression. So this one is will find all spaces. Sorry, s plus, and then the second argument is something to replace the spaces with, which is nothing. And the third argument is the string that contains the spaces, so it's footer layout. So we now modified footer layout to remove spaces in case they exist. So of course you may think the user can type something that is not aligned with this pattern here. You can type some letters or stuff like that, and we'll take care of this in a moment. But let's now save, and let's copy these, and we'll use the same thing in the other files. So here, and we don't need it in the info actually. So let's now refresh, and let's go to footer options and change this. So you can see, because we need to add some widgets first. So let's go to the widgets, and let's add a gallery. And let's add, I don't know, tag cloud. So as you can see, we now only have footer column 1 and 2 and 3. We don't have the fourth one, and that's because of course we have now 3 columns here. So we can modify the layout in order to fit 3 columns and make it 4 4 4, and as you can see, it now takes all the space. So I think that's perfect. Let's just handle the case where a user can type some letters and stuff like that. So what we need to do is do something that will tell the user that the input that you entered does not match the pattern that we expect. So in addition to sanitization, settings can also accept validation callbacks. So let's add a validation callback here. And remember, the difference between validation and sanitization is called validate callback, is that sanitization will happen before saving to the database, and in validation, if some conditions are not met, the value will not be even submitted to the database. So let's create a new function that will do some validation, and let's call it theme name underscore validate footer layout. So we need this function to check what the user typed, and if it matches the pattern that we need, we will submit it, and if not, we will display an error. And to display an error, WordPress provides an easy way to do that, and we'll see this in a moment. So let's create the function. So the validation callback receives two arguments, an object called validity and the value that we typed. So the validity object is used to manage errors that we need to display in the customizer. So we need to check first if, and I'm going to use preg match here, and preg match will check if your string matches a certain pattern. So I'm going to paste the pattern here. You don't have to know how to write this pattern, but with the help of Stack Overflow, I was able to figure out the pattern which we need, which is number, comma, number, comma, number, comma, number, and the number should not be greater than 12, which is the maximum of our grid system. So if you don't know about regular expressions, don't worry, I don't know either, but I was able to figure out this pattern using some help. So it takes the second argument, which is the value, this value that we typed in the input. So if the pattern did not match, or if the value did not match this pattern, we need to display an error. So to do that, we'll use the validity object and a method called add, and it takes an ID for the error. So let's call it invalid footer layout, and it takes a string that will be displayed to the user. So of course it should be escape and translated, and let's call it let's type footer layout is invalid, and text domain, and then we'll have to return this object. So we will return this object either way in the validation function, but if we had an error, we will add to it the error text. So let's see if this will work. And let's type a 13 here, and as you can see, footer layout is invalid. Let's type 12, and now it's valid. Let's type some letters, and so on. And if you try to publish, it won't publish an invalid field, and it will tell you here unable to save due to one invalid setting. So great. So we're now able to take the columns from the user and validate and refresh the footer without refreshing the whole website using partials. So I think that's it for the footer options. For the next part, we will take care of this logo here. We need to take an image logo from the user and put it here. And if the user did not choose the logo, then we'll fall back to this site title. So let's do this in the next section.